So I did watch that new movie, The Deliverance. And when I watched this movie, the first thing that it reminded me of is how the average believer is spiritually weak. That's the first thing that came to mind. I say the body of Christ is way too weak. Looking at the demonic spirits that family was dealing with, I said we way too weak in the body of Christ, meaning just knowing your spiritual gifts, just understanding when the Bible talks about you wrestle not with flesh and blood, right? But you dealing with spiritual warfare, these demonic spirits, and this is what it looks like. And a lot of people, are really afraid of that. But it's like, how are you going to learn how to deal with it in your own life if you're afraid of it? Most people run from it, but not knowing that you already living with it. See, the thing is, because y'all not crawling up the walls, you think that you're safe. But like I always tell people, God always has a chain breaker. But see what happened, if you think about her life, hold on now, let me slow it down because it's a lot that I want to say about that. But I think about that chain breaker. We call it the chosen one, right? Look at her life, right? Look at her life and also think about your life if you're somebody who watched the movie, because some people may not watch it. But look at how, her life is full of trauma. Things happen to her as a child, and that's why it'll start on you as a child. The traumas. Look at how that will cause God. Look at how trauma will cause you to separate yourself from God. Notice how she didn't want anything to do with God. She didn't even want the mama hanging up the cross in that movie. You see what I'm saying? That right, them traumas will separate you. This is why the Bible talks about the enemy goes back and forth. Satan will go back and forth looking for who he may devour, right? This is why. To inflict people with pain, because if I can continue to inflict you with pain and cause trauma in your life, you're going to separate from God, because it's going to make you look at God and not look at the enemy. It's going to make you look at God not protecting you. But once I said, listen, put on the full armor of God. This is what the Bible teaches us, how we stay equipped, because we're living on the devil's playground right now. This is it. Satan is the prince of the air. So this is why the trauma can go on in your family. And the more it goes on and it pushes you away from God, now you can't even call on the name Jesus. But notice, once she called on Jesus, it broke every chain off her children, including herself. Look at how it set them free. So you gotta catch the message. Now, however, check this out. The mama was already trying to undo what has already been done between them, that trauma, that upbringing. So the mama, gave her life to God. And so she's trying to push that back onto her daughter. But like I say, look at how trauma and pain will keep you in bondage. And that's perfect for the adversary. That's perfect for Satan. Because when you have that hurt in you, that bitterness in you, that anger in you, that's how those spirits thrive. You got to understand, the same way God uses us as a vessel. Come on now, catch them diamonds. That is how Satan does too. So I call it the battle of the kingdoms. And I done talked about this before. The battle of the kingdoms. So both are using the vessel. It's all about who you want to use you while you occupy this space down here on earth. Who you want to be used by. And a lot of people love to be used by the devil, because there is no turning back. There are some people's hearts are corrupted. They don't want no turning back. You see what I'm saying? And so it took her to go through that to see God again. And once she spoke Jesus' name, it gave her that strength again. So generational curses or cycles, that's what it looks like. So identify that in your life so that you can be the person to break that, because it's going to take a renewed mind to do it. This is what it looked like. Like I said, just because y'all not crawling up the walls don't mean nothing. You still have spirits around you. And like I tell people, the common spirit that most people are going to deal with is a hindering spirit, meaning you cannot move forward. You can't move to the side. You can't go nowhere. It has you in the same spot for many years, just like a lot of your family stuck there. And it's also that mentality. There has not been any renewed mind. The mind has not been renewed. So that hindering spirit will always cut you off every time you try to do something. That's why I say you got to recognize the spiritual warfare. You ain't got to be crawling up the walls and your head's turning around to understand that you're dealing with something demonic. God is about being proactive and moving in life. It's about, making progress. We're not staying the same. Let me tell you something, nobody that surrenders to God wholeheartedly stays the same. I don't care what nobody tell you. You don't. I am a witness to that. You cannot stay the same. You gonna outgrow everybody around you, including your family. So it's impossible. So when you sit there and stay the same, that's because more than likely you're not wholeheartedly surrendering. Because the average believer spends most of their relationship with God being surface level. Surface level looks like this: they're too busy trying to argue about the Bible and God's commands. The average believer cannot handle somebody telling them what to do. Like, they believe in God, but they don't want nobody telling them what to do or how to live. So they don't care for the commandments. So this is why they never experience the full kingdom of God. Like, you don't experience God for real because you too mad about God's authority. So the average believer stays stuck right here, surface level or lukewarm. They don't go no further because they don't respect God's authority in his kingdom. They got to have it their way. So the next thing, there are a lot of people who do not want to watch this movie because they believe that it will open up portals. And honestly, I understand, because we do have to guard ourselves. But I also want to speed you up to, reality. You can go your whole life not watching that movie, but still go out here and experience the same thing. Because you got to realize this family moved into a house that already was infested with these demonic spirits. So right now, you could be packing up to move somewhere and not knowing that the new home that you live in could already occupy these demonic spirits that will possess you or your children. You don't understand that. You can go your whole life not watching no type of horror movies or real true stories and still experience that. So it really doesn't do you no justice to not know how to deal with it if you come up against it. Now let me go into a real thing that happened to me. Okay, 12 years old, we moved into a new house. We'll never forget it. We still talk about it. New house, a man was unalived in that house. So let me get straight to one of the situations. Now, we already had been hearing stuff, experiencing stuff. Even our guests, my cousin, I remember him being in my room talking on the phone, and he came out of the room. He said, it feel like somebody in there watching me. We already knew that because we had been slowly experiencing things. So it wasn't just us. It was one night, me and my grandma was walking down the hallway. We had a long little hallway from our rooms. And walking down, into the living room, into where the kitchen is and all that, the den. So I was walking in front of her. There was a voice. I heard it. It says, look up. That's what it said. Now, I'm 12 years old. It said, look up. I looked up. There was like this, it's like a big little chandelier in our hallway, the light. And my hands went out just like that. It fell into my hands. My grandma screamed. And I was just in shock holding it. There was a lot of things happening. When I used to be in my bed, when I was sleeping, I could feel somebody laying next to me. I used to feel it. There was a family that lived there. I don't know what could have happened to the children, but I do know the man was unalived. I do know that much. And we used to hear the voices. I used to hear kids playing. And I used to look out my window, say, who in my backyard? No, we don't see nobody. And like I say, guests experience this too. We didn't stay long. And I'm going to tell you another thing about that house. Anybody who moved in it after us, they didn't stay long either. And this is why I believe in the spiritual realm. Just like that voice that said, look up, that was the protection. That was God. That was the protection over me. That's why I believe in God for sure. Just like I told people how I seen Lucifer. Just like, I got stories where I actually have seen dead relatives or people we know or people I don't know. I have actually seen it. I'll get into some stories. You see what I'm saying? So it's real out here. You can go your life never watching nothing and still run into it because that's how deep it is. Just like you can move into a place where it was covered by God. Whoever lived there, they prayed over their house. God was welcomed in their home. Or you can move into a home where it had demonic spirits, depending on what certain people were doing. And I'll end this message by saying this. I'm glad that a lot of people are talking about this movie because it's a good conversation piece, and it's also good when other people share their experience, because there are some people who have never experienced this and don't believe that it's real, don't know how real it is, and don't understand that they're already living in that type of demonic cycle. Like I said, they just not having the horror with it. You see what I'm saying? But it's a good conversation piece, because honestly, to be real, the body of Christ, and for those who are believers, this is just a time where you really need to get your weight up. And I'm just being for real. Get your weight up spiritually. Spiritually. You see what I'm saying? And when you do that, you can break a lot of things in your life that you're dealing with right now. That's just kind of minor, but really it's not minor. But you know what I'm saying? It ain't like that. So that will really actually help you. And I'm gonna tell you another thing too, that this is real for me, because I remember, somebody asked me before, have I had any type of, deep kind of spiritual dreams? But I tell you one that I had a dream about God, but I didn't see God's face, but I knew it was God. And I heard this music of like this jubilee type of sound, this music, like just rejoicing. And I remember seeing a nun standing in my doorway. And then in the next part of that dream, the nun disappeared, but yet she put a microphone stand in front of my bed. And when I woke up from that dream, it made me think about how God wants me to speak. And this before TikTok now, this before all this content and people putting out videos. And another dreams that I used to have was, I dreamed that I was going to people's houses, speaking in tongues, and they was calling me to cast out demonic spirits out of their home. That's what gave me another idea about my future and where I'm moving to now. So that's why I say it's good to get your spiritual, gifts up, and yet spiritual strength, and put on that full armor of God. You got to put on that full armor, because you're really gonna wrestle against some real things, and them demonic spirits that people don't see, people gonna start seeing them. They gonna start making themselves more visible, because right now God be shielding us from a lot of things that a lot of people don't see, but you're gonna start seeing more and hearing more. Watch.